Okay, so Alabama is down at least one running back that's in the portal. Is it okay or is it a miscarriage of justice?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me, and Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll tell you about FanDuel in a bit. Also going to tell you about a new sponsor. Jimmy, you're not going to believe who it is, and I'm not even going to let you guess, but you won't. But it'll be unbelievable if you listen to our last podcast. You know what that means. Also want to thank our everydayers for being here every day, and thank you newbies for being here today. Also, shout out really quickly before I forget. I don't want to forget. I went to the basketball game last night, and Mason came up to me and took a picture with me. Mason seemed like a really good guy, and I appreciate you, Mason. So, okay, Jimmy, first of all, miscarriage of justice. Did you see what I did there?
I did. I put two and two together, and I've discerned that Justice Haynes is likely the back you're referring to and not Daniel Hill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was trying to come up with anything. I mean, I really was thinking like justice, and all I could think of was no justice, no peace, because that's what everybody says. And then I was like, but that doesn't work for anything. And then it like dawned on me as I was in the middle of talking, I was like, I'm going to screw up no justice, no peace, aren't I? Like in my head, I'm giving myself heck in my own head. And then miscarriage of justice, I thought it's the best I can do this early in the morning.
That's solid.
Anyway, Justice Haynes is in the portal.
Yep.
And boy, yesterday I did go to the basketball game. I saw a lot of people I know there, and I had a couple of them say, I didn't want to lose Justice. And I'm like, I get it. And I said, I get it, especially if you've been listening to this podcast, because I will say this. I think Jimmy and I, mostly me, if you don't want to take any of this blame to it, I think we probably hit the hype button a little hard on Justice Haynes because we saw all the video of him, picking up 2,000 pounds and then doing lunges. We saw all that. And he isn't a Greek god. He's an Adonis. He's a beautiful specimen of a human being.
Exactly what we said.
We love him. I mean, we would love to have got some children with him.
That's what we said too.
We said all that. But we said we think he's going to really bust on the scene. And Jam Miller's the starter, but watch out. Here comes Justice. And we did all that. And Justice is a great person. Truly, I'm not being hyperbolic. He's a good dude. And he wore number 22, so it's reminiscent of Mark Ingram. He's got the body, sort of the build a little bit of Trent Richardson. So you're thinking, man, this guy's going to be just a star, right? And then now we look back on the season, and it feels like every game, except for the first one where he had the 85-yard touchdown, which, by the way, he almost got caught on. I mean, that shouldn't go unnoticed. Every game we were like, yeah, we kind of wanted to see a little more out of Justice. I think back to the Tennessee game, I think it was in particular, where remember he had to make a cut to get a first down, a really important first down we needed, and it just didn't materialize. Isn't that correct? It wasn't at the Tennessee game?
Yeah, I do remember that.
We thought in the Missouri game when he made the big hit, like huge collision with a Missouri player a little late in the game, I think it was, and he scored a touchdown, or was that
I think it was Justice.
Yeah. But I'm saying we remember that play and we're like, okay, that's going to be the thing that gets him going. You can always point to a jumping off point for somebody's career. You think about Michael Jordan over Craig Elo against the Cavaliers where he jumps up and pumps his fist and like that was the creation of the legend of Michael Jordan. We were thinking that hit on the Missouri kid was going to be the creation of what we expect Justice Haynes to be. And it just never materialized. Doesn't mean it won't ever materialize. Doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. Doesn't mean that. It means I probably hyped him a little bit too much. And that's not his fault. It's my fault. But let's also be honest about this. He's leaving. It's not the end of the world.
I'm surprised in retrospect that Justice Haynes leaving isn't a bigger blow, but based on how he performed this past year, it's not a huge blow. I think there's a difference between guys that leave, and I'm speaking for us fans and the coaching staff in terms of how they look at this. There's a difference between a player that's leaving and the staff is like, no, 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 no. What do we have to do to make you stay? Let's get your parents on the phone. Let's have a meeting with your agent. Let's see what we can do about with Yale, Alabama, and get you some more money. Let's no. We don't want you to go. I mean, the please don't go versus we'd prefer you stick around, but I mean, if you feel this strongly about leaving, I guess that's best for both of us, sort of a thing. And I think we've had a couple leave recently, some of these last portal guys that are more in that category too. I don't know that any of them have been in category one of the 12 or 13 guys that have left. I don't know that any of them have been the no. What do we got to do to keep you here? Everyone needs to keep in mind, I know everybody doesn't keep a running total, but a running total of guys that are on the team right now, and you minus out all the seniors that participated in Honors Day and all of the guys who have portaled out and the 21 guys coming in, even after Devonte, who we'll talk about next, we're at 84. We're at 84. And people are like, we need to sign 10 more out of the portal. You got to subtract to add. And that's one of the reasons people, I think, overreact to these guys that are leaving. You've got to have some guys leave. You've got to have some leave if you want to bring in more. Don't be the guy that's like, no, I only want to add. I don't want to subtract. Well, I mean, that's not the real world. You've got to subtract to add.
That's Jimmy math, y'all. I love that. We're going to put that on a t-shirt. You've got to subtract to add.
Yep. I always remember a David Letterman top 10 list from my youth about, I think it was courses at SMU. Like I think I do with SMU back when they had a shady program. It was that back in the 80s, and Letterman had a top 10 list, top 10 courses available to SMU athletes. And one of them was subtraction, addition's tricky, pal.
That's funny. I could go back and look at some of those old top 10 lists. Now, but I think what you were saying is correct. You were like, I can't believe it's not more of a bigger deal. But here's what's funny. If you had told us at the beginning of the season, after the first game, hey, this is Luke from the future coming to tell you Justice Haynes transfers.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, no, this is cataclysmic.
No.
And now you're sort of like,
well, all right.
Well, okay.
I mean, look, if you had, I'll ask you, because I'll ask the audience. I'm going to ask the audience through you. If you were losing Jam or Justice, which one would you definitely want back? Jam or Justice?
Jam.
Agree 100%. I agree.
Some
people listening may not agree across the board, but I think the majority. It was a quick answer for me and a quick answer for you. And now, second, here's another question. Are you excited to see Richard Young get more carries?
Yes.
I am too.
I really am.
I am too. Okay,
that's an even better question. Like, I'm not even as excited about Jam coming back, even though I am, but I'm pulled up Jam Miller's stats right now, 135 carries, 641, and 7 touchdowns. I mean,
pedestrian.
Okay.
It's pedestrian, to be honest. I mean, for Alabama, for what we expected Alabama, Jam's got to do better. Now, what I'm hoping, and it's going to be a hope until we see it, but what I'm hoping is having a more traditional rushing attack next year is going to improve the numbers at running back. I think Jam and Justice were a little handicapped by what we did this year with the RPOs and Milroe keeping it so often and focus on Milroe and Milroe's legs being the focus. Me and you commented during the season a few times during his better games, like, wow, the best running back on the team is Jalen Milroe. I think, obviously that's going to change. There'll be a more traditional offense next year, no matter who the quarterback is. And I think that's going to benefit the top two backs. And hey, I'm a fan of Daniel Hill situationally. Kevin Riley, he has a ton of potential. He's just got to get a little bigger, stronger. And of course, AK Deer is showing up as, running back's a position where freshmen can be hugely impactful. So I think the running back spot at Alabama is great. Like you said, I think the overall theme of your point here and our point, which I really like, is losing Justice isn't great. And you would have thought this would be a big blow. But in reality, in terms of the running back room at Alabama in 2025, this is fine. And if Justice thinks he'll be happier, better somewhere else, fine.
How about this stat, Jimmy? That I'm why I hadn't thought of this earlier. I don't know. But I pulled up, first of all, Richard Young has 25 carries for like 120 yards or something and 2 touchdowns. Okay, I mean, he hasn't gotten a lot of, and he's, first of all, it's always at the end of the game. Secondly, he hadn't gotten a lot of carries to really get momentum going. Right. But I told you about Jam Miller's carries, right? He's had a lot more carries and about 741 yards or whatever, 641, and only 7 touchdowns. So he doesn't average that many per carry. Justice Haynes, 79 carries, 448, 7 touchdowns, 5.7 per carry. But do this. Take out the 1 carry for 85 yards. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's 78 carries for 353, and he averages 4.5 yards a carry. So what I'm saying is, and you and I are big to say, don't take out somebody's biggest plays because that's part of it. But this 85-yarder by him was such an anomaly. Was so out of bounds that I think you can take that outlier out and say, okay, it just wasn't.
And it's not like he did it against Georgia or Tennessee either. That was a long run against a Group of 5 team.
Sometimes I just got to do that little thing to cut us both off.
Somebody's got to cut me off.
I know. And we'll just keep talking. FanDuel, you love FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. I screwed that up. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Okay, so the next guy we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get into some other guys that maybe Alabama didn't get. Devonta Smith. Yeah. And not that one. I feel like you always got to say that. Devonta, no, not that one.
From some of the reaction, you would think it was the first one.
You really would. And I'll be honest. First of all, I'll also be honest and say this. If you told me I get to keep one and one leaves, I would have a long self-talk, and then I would probably choose Devonta Smith to stay. Because I think we can do better at running back.
Between Devonte and Justice?
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now,
Devonte to stay. I would agree, Devonte to stay.
But Devonta Smith's leaving, I do also want to say, okay, I'm pretty sure he didn't even go back in the game after the Auburn dust.
Did not.
And he was having trouble. If you remember, like the cameras caught him pretty well, like not having confrontations with coaches, but being very difficult to get back to the sidelines.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what's making him leave. There's also talk about his having a baby in the Ohio area where he's from. And again, more power to him. I think that's fine. If he's going back to be with his child, as a man with 4 children, I respect that. Go for it. And I'm not mad at you. I'm not bringing up the Auburn melee thing to paint him in a bad light. I like Devonta Smith. I think he's a good player, not a great player. And I would like to have him on this team next year. I also think there is a higher chance we upgrade than there is chance we downgrade from him. Correct. And again, that is not an insult. I don't want anybody to take it that way. I would take him on my team. But I'm saying I think there's a better chance we upgrade that position than we get worse at that position.
Yeah, I agree. Man, you put that really well. I couldn't agree more. If it's up to me, like, oh, are you glad Devonte left? No. Do you want Devonte on the team? Yeah. Do you want him back? Yeah. Is his leaving crippling Alabama? No. No, it's not. I mean, Devonte, the NFL can't be the barometer for everything, but I think it's the barometer for some things. And Devonte has been here for 4 full years. Has there ever been talk of him jumping to the NFL? No. Why? He doesn't have very high stock with the NFL. He's only started for 1 year this past year, and he was hurt a lot and shared the position early on with Red, late in the season with Deshaun Jones. I don't think losing Devonte is crippling. And I agree with Luke. I think that's a great way to put it. I don't believe Alabama's play at Husky next year will be worse than it was this season. Devonte was an average player. When we were upset about the all SEC teams that came out, and trust me, I read 1,000 posts, and me and you were both believing Alabama got the short end of the stick with some of these all SEC selections. Did Devontae's name come up? No, not for no one thought he performed at an all SEC level or at a level that's going to attract the attention of the NFL. And he's a fourth-year junior. He'd be a fifth-year senior next year. So this is not a great football player. I hate being that blunt because y'all know I don't like to criticize players. And that's not a criticism to say it's not a criticism to say he's not great in the NFL all-star sense.
I'm so tired. It really is tiring. And again, see, my wife owns her own PR firm, and she does a really good job. She is, I mean, I'm talking about not being hyperbolic. Like, she is well known to have a great reputation in this field.
You just did PR for a PR firm.
I did PR for
a PR firm just now.
So, but she always uses the word amazing. And one day I told her I may have been drunk, but I told her, I said, if you use amazing for everything, nothing's amazing. That's the whole, just like we talked about unbelievable. If everything's unbelievable, then it's almost better to call something believable. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. Like, it's okay to say this guy's not great. Now, with it's all about your intonation. If you say he's not great, you know what people always say. I got some friends that always say they're not world beaters. I'm like, who? I know.
I call good players and good recruits dudes, sort of known for doing that, dude. And I'm fully aware every time I use it, I can't call everybody a dude, or it doesn't mean anything. Correct. It doesn't mean anything.
And so if you call somebody a dude, that means you really like them. Right?
Exactly. Well, I also, when in writing, whether it's a tweet or whether it's something on the BOL board, I sometimes capitalize dude. And by the way, you should pay attention when I do that. I sometimes dude with no capital D. It's a lesser dude. But is Devonta Smith a dude? No. Is he bad? No.
But is he playing for the Alabama? He was starting for the Alabama Crimson Tide, which by definition means
he's a good player.
He's a pretty good player.
He's a good player.
Although there is one offensive lineman in the early 2000s that did the same, and I'll never.
Well, Alabama's not always the same. And under current Alabama, if you're a starter, you're a pretty good player, or you wouldn't be starting at Alabama. And I know a lot of people have a hard time understanding this, but Alabama is still an elite program. As a matter of fact, they're still a top 12 program per the College Football Playoff Committee. But Devonte is not a great player. He's just good. And I think he will be missed. Loved his physicality. I liked him as a person. A couple of interactions with him as media. Great. I mean, I like Devonte. I'm rooting for. He's one I'm going to root for. I mean, when they leave, some of them I root for, and some of them I'm going to root for Devonte. What's curious to me is he going home to Cincinnati to play for literally the Bearcats, which would be interesting. I read some people say, "Oh my gosh, he's going home to Columbus. He's going to play for Ohio State." I don't think Ohio State would take him. I don't think so. 100%. I don't think so. No, now, Kentucky is a program that's awfully close to Cincinnati, and that would be a solid choice. Our friend Christian Story played for Kentucky up there this year. By the way, had 30 tackles and an interception playing for the Wildcats this year. I think Kentucky would be a nice spot for Devonte and Cincinnati, who's a good Power 4 program. Now, I got to remember, Cincinnati's in the Power 4. And
what was that thing we said about Christian Story? The best Christian story since Jonah and the whale?
That's what you said.
Still,
I'll give you credit.
Yeah, I know.
That's good.
I still wish he was on the team just so I could say
just
that.
For that. It's brought up a lot. But losing Devonte, again, last thing I'll say, something can be bad, but not terminal. And we just have too much of the, if something bad happens, oh my God, the sky's falling, let's fire everybody and send all the players and fire them into the sun. This isn't great news that Devonte left. It's not terminal by any means. Yeah,
I totally agree. Now, a couple other transfer portal notes. First of all, Luke Haas, who you and I are both high on, I would have loved to have had him on this team, but he's committed to Ole Miss along with that. Is it Cuttis, the offensive line?
Right.
Here's one thing about that.
We never really offered Cuttis, by the way.
No, I know we didn't offer Cuttis. So, I mean, not a big deal.
We wanted to. We were very interested.
Part of me is like, hey, Ole Miss, you're getting some really good dudes from Arkansas. And part of me is like, Are
You're
y'all just
Arkansas.
becoming Arkansas South?
You're Arkansas. You're Arkansas now.
mean,
If you take them all, you're Arkansas.
yeah.
I think Haas is good. One thing about Haas, and somebody brought this up, this is a good point, not just the sunshine way to look at it, but what Alabama really needs at tight end is a blocker, because the H part's covered. Josh Cuevas is really good. As a pass receiving guy, he's even better than I think we've seen, and I think could be a real significant player if we really throw to that spot. What Alabama needs is a blocking presence at tight end, and Haas is really, if he's a Y or an H, he's really an H. I mean, he's a pass-catching, route-running tight end and not so much a physical, hulking presence that gets the edge block. There's a tight end from Nebraska that Alabama's interested in that's really what amounts to, just to be honest, a third tackle. That's really what Alabama needs more than anything else. So, but I agree with you, Luke, that Haas is good. I would have loved to have seen him on this Alabama team for sure. But hey, you're not gonna get them all, especially in the portal, competing with teams that famously spend a lot in the portal, and that's Ole Miss.
Very quickly, two other names that are in the portal that just one of them Alabama associated, one of them not so much. But Mario Craver from Central, from Clay Chalkville, who I really liked him. He was in that class last year with a bunch of good Ryan Williams and Cam Coleman and kid from Mobile,
Malcolm Simmons, Bryce Kane, Malcolm Simmons,
Terry Thompson. I mean, it was just an unbelievable year. Look, Mario Craver, Alabama's apparently got some interest. I would be very happy if he made it on his way onto this team. I would be. Now, some people are like, it doesn't move the meter. I get it. But I will tell you, getting Mario Craver in here excites me more than losing Justice Haynes or Devonta Smith hurts me. I believe that wholeheartedly. Y'all can call me a liar if you want to. The other one I got to bring up, and we can't really talk about it, I just sort of find a Nelson Muntz kind of moment about it. Walker White from Auburn, the quarterback, who was Hugh Freeze's he was going to be the Pied Piper for everybody last year. And he's in the portal, and now Auburn's got two quarterbacks on that roster, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was really big on Walker White. I thought Walker White would be a really good SEC quarterback. I'm not sure what all the circumstances are. Obviously, Auburn bought in Jackson Arnold, which is telling Walker White, well, you're not in our plans. Jackson, and they're hyping Jackson Arnold unbelievably over there. I mean, they're hyping him. So I guess Walker White feels like, well, I'm not the future here. They're bringing in another future. So Walker left. And while, I wouldn't say it's a blow to Auburn in the sense that obviously Jackson Arnold's going to be their quarterback, going forward. That's the decision that they made. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Who's going to be the better quarterback 2 years from now? 2 years from now, are we saying Arnold's better or Walker White's better? So it'll be interesting to see where Walker goes. He's a talented kid for real.
Auburn also got a transfer running back from UConn who's apparently pretty good. I mean, he's not not a world beater, but he's pretty good.
Robinson, I think his name is.
Yeah, Darrell Robinson, I think. But it was funny because Jackson Arnold and Robinson, Auburn put out these videos of them giving the same speech, like, "What's up, Auburn fam? I am thrilled to be here in Auburn. There is no place like this on earth. The greatest people that have ever lived." And all I could think was they have this manifesto. They all have to read
hostage video, like a hostage video.
Please, I'm like, blink twice if we need to come get you. But anyway, all right, we got to talk about this new sponsor, and it's gonna blow you away. Oh yeah, how about? What? Well, okay, this is less exciting for me since we're not in it, but it is that time of year. The college football playoff is back. And with newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, except for the fact that we're not in it. Bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's 10 o'clock on God's time, leading into our first matchup. Penn State taking on some team that probably should be replaced by Alabama. then the Clemson.
That's what it says right there in the read.
Yeah, that's what it said right there. Then the Clemson Tigers looked to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. God's time. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT True TV, TBS, and Max. They got it all, baby. I can't wait for the playoffs. I really can't. I'm looking forward to it.
I am a big Max fan. I'm a very happy Max subscriber. So throw that in for the read.
That shows me how many things I'm subscribed to now, because my kids keep subscribing to stuff. They're like, "Can I?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, don't text me anymore." And so, and then I keep getting all these bills. Like I'm subscribed to everything.
A lot of them you have to be careful. I think a lot of them you can be paying for the same thing twice,
over and over again. One quick more football note. Ryan Williams was listed by ESPN and CBS as like one of the leaders for the Heisman next year. And I wanted to read really quickly what they said before we get into basketball, because I just thought it was kind of interesting the way they said this, because I didn't know this statistic about Ryan Williams. I'm just going to read it mostly verbatim. The freshman from Saraland burst onto the scene by hauling in a 75-yard touchdown catch from Jalen Milroe with 2:18 left in the victory against Georgia. He had 6 catches for 177 yards in that game. Williams finished the season with 45 receptions for 875 and 8 scores, but he cooled off late. He didn't have more than 73 yards receiving in each of the past 7 games. If Bama's passing game is better, and we think it will be, and that's me saying that, Williams cuts down on his drops, and he had 8 of them. I didn't realize he had 8 drops, and I thought he had 2 against Auburn, but I didn't know
two come to mind. 8
Oklahoma.
That's exactly what comes to the long distance drop and against Auburn, and obviously there was a bad one against Oklahoma.
Okay,
we had the dropsies that night.
Let's give basketball their flowers. I went to the game last night. I want to say this again. I'm not going to start off. I am going to start off with a mild negative, not about the team. Our crowd's got to do better. I mean, I'll throw me into the mix, but it's contagious. Our cross your legs crowd has got to get a little bit more into this stuff. Creighton is a team that beat Kansas. It was a fine environment. It needs to be better. And all I could think was, man, if Auburn rolls in here as number 1 team in the country, we're going to have to blow the roof off this place. And I'm not sure that – I hope we're capable of it. I'm just going to throw that out there, that I love going to Alabama basketball games. I love this team. This team hadn't even scratched the surface of how good they can be, yet they have played the toughest schedule in the country according to all the metrics, and they've only lost 2 games. So they hadn't scratched the surface, and Chris Youngblood comes in, and he looks pretty good. He wasn't great, but he looks pretty good, and he's going to get better.
He's going to get better, yeah.
And he's thick. He's not super tall, but he was thicker than I thought.
Yeah, some of these young guys are going to be better players as the season progresses, even Phylon, but Aiden Sherrill, Darian Reed, who I think is going to be, he's already, I think, a pretty elite defender. But I think Reed's going to be a better and better offensive player as his career progresses. Man, this team's so good. And of course, LeBaron Phylon, you got to enjoy Phylon while you can. He ain't going to be here long.
I want him to, I really do hope he is here. Just give us one more year, LeBaron. We'll make it work money-wise. We'll make it work. We'll work. Jimmy and I will work with you. Because Phylon, they interviewed him on the
SEC. Now that we're sponsored by the College Football Playoff, we're theoretically rich.
That is true. In theory. In theory, communism works, as they said on the second. So going back to this, LeBaron was interviewed on the SEC Network after the game, and he's just a dude that is, his personality is magnetic, and I didn't see it because I was at the game and my eyesight isn't that great. But when I came home and watched some highlights and watched a little bit of it, like his facial expressions and everything. You can just tell like he's talking trash with the other team, but not in I believe it was Avery Johnson Jr. I think used to talk a little trash, and we're like, slow down, let's make a 3, and then you can do it. But Phylon, I think that's his game, is like get in your grill a little bit. Defensively is where this team is just blowing me away. But what's weird is I don't think we even had a block last night.
The emphasis, you can tell the emphasis with Nate on this team has been on the defensive end. You can tell that's what they work on. That's what that's the focus, because they know they're going to score. And man, I think at some point this year, this team's going to decide, hey, let's just all go out on offense one night. They're going to put up like 112 on somebody that's like really good. That's how capable they are.
Sears had his best game of the year, I thought, points wise. And his defense was still pretty good. we were going against Kalkbrenner, who is he's a monster human being. And Amori, I mean, he's so tall that it sort of offset Amori's strength some. But whenever there was like, oh, I'm going to push you around, there wasn't a question who was winning that battle.
I thought Amori did fine against that guy. That guy's a tough matchup for literally anyone. I knew of him. I was surprised how good he is.
He's fluid.
That dude's
more fluid, you think?
He's one of the better athletes I've seen for a 7-footer. I mean, I would imagine there's a spot in the NBA for a guy like that.
And there's the dude at Florida, the big tall dude. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I've watched all this, but they've got a dude kind of like him. And so that's a good primer. Now, we don't play Florida the way at the end of the year at home. But I thought, again, Phylon was great. Aiden Holloway, man, I'm going to tell you, Aiden Holloway is going to be probably the most frustrating player this year because nobody wants Aiden Holloway to do better than Alabama.
Best hair on the team, by the way. That's my vote. Best hair on the team. I vote.
Phylon's pretty good, though.
Phylon's hair is good, too. But I like Holloway's. But
Holloway does this thing where he's got great handles, and he drives into the lane, and then nothing happens, and he drives right back out of the lane. And you're like, what did we even do that for? Like it feels like it's almost
it's like he unplugs himself to plug himself back in.
Right. It's like a momentum killer a little bit because I know. See, I think people have realized when he gets in the lane like that, he ain't putting a shot up because he can't get it over anybody.
Yeah, not the biggest guy. I hope that we just see more Holloway, the 3-point assassin. That's what I would like him to develop into. But he's a good. Hey, he's yet another good player. They're all good. The roster's just so much fun.
Meanwhile, the SEC may be the best I've ever seen it. They played 14 games yesterday in Alabama, and the SEC went 13-1.
I think it's the first time they've lost any game in a while.
Well,
the whole league had a nice win streak there.
They set some kind of record about number of wins over AP top 25 teams by out of conference, and we're not out of December. They set the record for the year.
Blake Byler from the BOL from my BOL site. Blake Byler said 13-5 may win the league. I'm like 12-6 may win the league.
13. Give me 13 and sign me up for 13-5.
I'll take 13-5 right now and win the SEC. I'm thinking 12-6. I mean, that's how and it's just how brutal these SEC road games are going to be. Just brutal.
Yeah, super brutal. Kentucky, lays it on Louisville. Auburn, Auburn's the best team in the country right now. I hate saying it more than anybody, but they are. And their experience,
their chemistry is really good.
That's all about their experience. They did a great job keeping some folks there that weren't great players, but they've been there so long they know what to do and they know their roles and they play them very well. All we can do is sort of hope they tail off a little bit towards the end or something.
I'm just mentally gearing up for that Alabama-Auburn national championship game.
So an Auburn friend of mine said, what are we going to do if we go to the Final Four? I was like, shut up talking to me. I was like, I don't want to play y'all anywhere, much less in San Antonio. I don't like playing y'all ever in any sport. Quit talking to me about this.
I wonder what the country would feel about Alabama versus Auburn for the national title. It would be the biggest sporting – hard to believe that the biggest sporting event maybe in the history of the state of Alabama would be something other than football. But man, would there be any citizen in the state that wasn't glued to their TV over that?
Now, one other thing, we're over, but that's okay. If y'all want to get a little perturbed at how the SEC welcomed in Texas this year, with a not like a burnt orange carpet with flower petals on it and naked ladies everywhere and some naked dudes too, I guess. I don't want to discriminate, whatever. They just welcomed in with open arms. And we know how badly they treated Oklahoma and their schedule in football and how easy Texas's schedule was in football. This was brought to our attention by a friend of ours this morning in a text chain. The hoop schedule. Here are the teams that travel to Texas without a return trip in basketball. Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky. In a league that has a bunch of great teams, those are the four best. And they don't get the return trip from Texas. And I'm just like, why do we feel the need to kiss their took us this much? And don't tell me some computer did this. That'd be the most random, crazy coincidence in American history. Don't do that. We kissed Texas's butt, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Well, they've certainly had some good fortune in SEC scheduling in football and basketball. They certainly have. But that's all I got to say, because I don't know. It's noticeable. It's noticeable.
It's irritating. It really is. I see what the Big 12 was dealing with all these years. You can't. They've got every advantage, literally, to man, and they got to have more. They still don't win any championships. So, all right,
not yet.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.